Let's get deeper into this now with Jonah Blank. He specializes in studying people, culture, and social relations. He's written on modern Islam and works for a nonprofit global policy think tank here in Washington, D.C. We want to thank you for coming in. What impact do you think this is going to have on Jordan's role in the coalition?
Well, Mike, the outpouring of support for King Abdullah and for the war effort in Jordan was just amazing. If ISIL thought that they were going to knock Jordan out of the conflict through this act of barbarity, they severely miscalculated.
You study folks, culture, all of that. Let's talk a little bit.
I am an anthropologist.
There you go. So talk to me about this visceral impact. I mean, in the United States, we saw an American journalist beheaded. It coursed through society here. We're seeing much the same thing in Jordan. What does this do to a country in terms of, like you were saying, galvanizing support for the effort against ISIL?
Well, you're very right. At a visceral level, this really has affected Jordanians and people throughout the region and the world. In Jordan and in the Muslim world, we've got to remember that there is no tradition whatsoever of burning people alive. In the Western world, we saw that during the Middle Ages, the Spanish Inquisition. It was inflicted quite often. But in the Muslim world, there are very specific religious prohibitions on doing this. So it really shocked people, particularly when ISIS is claiming to do this in their name.
There's been these revenge killings by the Jordanian government. One might describe it that way. Does that up the ante in any respect? We do know that there are other Westerners being held. Are they more at risk?
I think they always were at risk. And the executions in Jordan, these were two executions of convicted terrorist killers who had been sentenced to death a long time ago, in 2005 and 2007, respectively. So is this going to make life more difficult for Westerners, for Jordanians, for all hostages? Perhaps. But the sad truth is, if you are a hostage being held by ISIL right now, your life is already very, very precarious.
And looking at their history, clearly, your chances do not look good, as you're pointing out. Let me talk a little bit about the pilot's father, who said 2 deaths, not enough. He wants the government to do much more. Obviously, there's a sense of outrage within Jordan. How far does the Jordanian government go in terms of retaliation, do you think?
Yeah. Well, what the father actually said was that he wants to see ISIL annihilated. That's exactly the stated policy of most of the governments in the region and most governments around the world. The question is, will it actually happen? King Abdullah, he's put his credibility on the line, and he commanded Jordanian special forces before rising to the throne. So he knows what his military can and can't do. The real question, though, is if Bashar al-Assad has been unable to put ISIL out of business, if the full weight of the U.S. and its partner coalition have not yet succeeded in putting ISIL out of business, what is little Jordan going to be able to do?
You mentioned little Jordan. I heard one U.S. senator today say that when it comes to the Middle East and the coalition partners, little Jordan has really stepped up to the plate in terms of missions that it's flown, whereas some of the other coalition partners have not. Do you see this maybe perhaps changing the dynamic in the Middle East in terms of the other coalition partners, saying, geez, if a Sunni can be executed in this way, maybe we do need to do more?
Well, unfortunately, ISIL has executed quite a lot of Sunnis before. They've executed Sunnis, they've executed Shia, they've executed Christians, they've executed Yazdis. I don't think this is really crossing a big barrier in that respect. Jordan has stepped up to the plate, though, in a way that very few other affected countries have. They really have been punching above their weight class. Maybe, just maybe, this will shame some other nations that have been holding back to get a little more into the fight.
All right, Jonah, thanks so much for coming in and offering your insights. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.